Can't get enough of Kelly and Ramya?
We're now on YouTube for you to indulge in highlights from our show.
Today we're going to be talking about how to say no without feeling guilty. I'd never feel guilty saying no, Rum, that's enough. Right, Fern?
No, I mean, yes, we are going to be talking about that. I thought I would keep it simple with a nice short word, Ramya, but, so we can spell it, but can we say it? No, we can't. We can't say it. It's very difficult. It seems very simple on the surface, but for many of us, myself included, saying no can be as hard as pronouncing some of the names on your prescription at the doctor's, indeed, I would challenge Stevie Wonder, who said sorry is the hardest word. I'm going with no. I think it's no, actually. Sorry, Stevie.
Man. You got to take lessons from like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old that, when they get that's one of the first words, and they give it a definite, just like that, right? They just bang.
And then it's
why is it?
Slow.
Exactly, especially when you start getting them in trouble. Don't you say no to me. Why is it so hard to say no?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because you talk about being young and how we can say no when we're little, and yet our upbringing has a lot to answer for when it comes to how hard it can be in adult life to say no, because quite often when we're little, we're told, you've got to be smiley, you've got to be nice, you've got to make sure everybody is happy with you. And so therefore we grow up with this idea that we mustn't create conflict. We can, get very sort of conflict avoidant. We can have this massive desire to please people. And we just think that, society is putting this expectation on us that we should always say yes to everything, because that's how we're going to fit in. That's how we're going to get people to like us. That's how we're going to be successful in life, basically.
Acceptance.
Definitely the successful part rings true, especially when you're in school or work, right? Like these kinds of things. But what are some common situations where this problem may present itself?
Yeah, well, I could go on for ages about this because I have been in so many of them. But you said work there, and yes, of course, work, it can happen a lot. People can kind of put lots of priorities on you and demands on your time that maybe you can't match, but you can't say no to them. You have to say yes. I know that as a freelancer, saying no is a scary thing, because what if you say no and they never ask you again? You just got to say yes. There's no, there's never too many hours in a day, basically. Also, not if you're not thinking about work, you might be thinking about family and friends. So friends might ask you to do something that you don't really want to do, but you feel like, oh, if I say no, I'm going to be like the miserable one. Or family might assume that you want to do things, might volunteer you to do things that you don't want to do.
Haven't even asked.
Exactly. And dating, this can be a very hard one, because you can feel under pressure to kind of move too quickly or to give stuff away that you're not ready to talk about yet. And I would say that maybe you would feel this with your colleagues on a radio show. But like you mentioned, Kelly, I can't imagine either of you having any difficulty saying no to the other at all.
Yeah,
no.
We're good at that.
Absolutely no.
Man,
sometimes it's 2 words. Sometimes it's absolutely no. But Fern, why is it an issue to never say no? No.
Well, it is an issue, Kelly, because it makes you, that you don't have any kind of boundaries. You don't know where to stop with things. You overcommit. So you say to people, yes, I can do that. And then, of course, you can't do that because physically there's just not enough hours in the day to do it. So you start falling short. That then has more of an impact on your self-esteem. Every time that you want to say no, but you can't say no, it kind of impacts that self-esteem. And the guilt that you talked about, that can kind of really be an issue for you. And it can mean that you can just not kind of trust yourself, because in a way you're not being honest with people, and it can build real resentment in your relationships because secretly you're thinking something different to what you're saying to everyone else.
Especially this concept around, like, if people have assumptions of you that you have to, say, no, that isn't me, right? Or no, this isn't the kind of thing that, I'll tolerate, or that kind of thing, which is a bit deeper than all the, commitment level stuff or, boundaries, but it is still, I think, part of the same conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, actually saying, that's not my kind of thing. That's a
Right.
really hard thing to say, because then, what are they going to think of me? It's, we really do worry about that, and we want to fit in and be accepted, like you said. So yeah, that is a hard one to kind of say, not just today, but never. This is just not me.
Okay. So let's say we're just so used to saying yes, so used to the overcommitment or the, inauthentic way of committing to things. How do you think starting to be able to say no when we need to will help in our lives?
I think it has so many benefits. I think it can really improve your relationships. I think it can decrease your stress levels. I just melded those two words together, decrease and stress. Decrease your stress levels. It can just work wonders, because we all know that when you're going around saying yes to everything,
Yep.
you are inside just feeling terrible,
Yeah.
And also, we've talked about this before, which is a really important point, that the most important relationship perhaps that you have in your life is the one with yourself. And so the more that you can say no, the more you can prove to yourself, actually, I've got my own back here, and you won't be betraying yourself all the time. And that really makes a difference to how you see yourself, which is so important.
Yeah. And then we
Interesting.
kind of got to undo all the times we have had self-mistrust and
No, Amuthan. Sorry, I'm just practicing.
Kelly
because
has
we
no
don't
self-mistrust,
right
I'm sure.
yeah because
No
for
trouble.
some, as you said, upbringing and all these other things that are years worth of saying yes when you mean no.
Well, and like you
Absolutely.
said, the stress level, but also that reality of you want to be compliant because you want people to see you as cooperative, part of a team, whether it's at home, work, wherever. And it just eats away. You hear people say, I remember saying to an actor, man, you're in a lot of plays and that I've noticed around town. He says, yeah, I don't have the sense to know how to say no. And it made me stop
I
and
can
think,
relate.
as much as, because people get afraid of it. Like you said earlier, what if they don't ask me to come back? So can we practice saying no in a way that feels more comfortable? Will that work?
Yes, we can. And I would say role playing is such a good tool here. So get someone that you trust to go through something. If you're in a situation you don't know how to say no, sort of play it out and have that conversation so that you know how it might go. And what I would say is, when you do have the actual conversation, speak slowly and be concise, because I know as well as anyone that when you don't like saying no and you find yourself having to say it, we kind of have to overcompensate. We feel like we have to over-justify, explain ourselves, and we can just go on and on and on. And it's not a very good way of communicating. So if we think carefully about what we want to say beforehand and we express ourselves clearly, I think the message is more likely to come across in a much better way than if you're kind of like rambling and you're all over the place and actually the person doesn't know what you're going on about, really.
Yeah.
Which often happens on this show with me.
I was going to say, that's my
Not
daily
even.
occurrence for me.
The other thing is, too, what I find to be helpful is just to take a step back and really think about what it is that someone's asking you for and compare it to the things that you would want to do, right? Like your value system or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
there is
Definitely.
nothing wrong with asking for some time and saying, can I get back to you? Rather than saying,
right.
blurting out yes and then immediately regretting it.
You can always change your mind. Just remember that, because that can change. When you feel like, oh God, I've got to give an answer right away, it's fine. You can give an answer and then you can come back later and say, do you know what? I think about that. And I think actually, no, I've changed my mind.
Yeah,
Why
that's
didn't you
fair.
say yes in the first place? Because I didn't know any better. Oh, never mind. No.
Yeah.
Then
But
they just
all-
get you worked up.
All of that can still require a bit of nerve, Fern, if you're not used to doing it. This could be a very scary thing, saying no for people. So what other ways that we can kind of think of ourselves can help us with saying no?
So what you said there, Ramya, about values is so important, because actually when we say yes all the time, we're losing sight of our values and of who we are. And you mentioned earlier sort of saying, no, that's not me. And, that I just don't like that sort of thing. When we say yes, we forget what we actually like and who we actually are and what we actually feel, because we're just so used to doing whatever anyone asks of us. So I think, when we can get good at just tolerating that discomfort, saying, you know, this is going to be hard, but I am going to do it anyway. I'm just going to practice. I'm going to start small. I'm going to start with people that I know will probably still like me anyway, even if I say no to them. And I'm going to celebrate those small victories, those times when I do actually say no. I'm going to say to myself, I did it this time. You know, maybe I don't do it all the time, but today I did it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then what if we finally start saying no and people start getting offended?
Now, this is a very real fear, and it could happen. You know, it's very easy to say, oh, you know, just do it, go for it. But if this does happen, I think the first thing you need to do is just acknowledge those feelings. What comes up for you when that happens? And think about, where is that coming from? And have real self-compassion for yourself to say, this is a pattern for me. I'm not used to this. And this is this guilt that we talked about earlier that's coming up. And that's okay. I can sit with that, and I can, you know, I'm not going to die because of that. I can survive that. Another thing we can do is challenge the kind of irrational beliefs that we have around saying no, because quite often we think things like, oh, they're never going to like me again, or I'm such a terrible person because I said no. Of course, that's not true. And when we zoom out and we kind of take a look at the bigger picture, yes, this person might be annoyed with me today, but they probably won't be in a week. And just because somebody is upset or annoyed with you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything wrong. Just remember that.
Right, right. All of that is very valid. And when you add disability into the context of all this, do we feel like we're more susceptible to the challenges of saying no when we have disabilities?
No.
I think we can be. You know, like I always say, it's different from person to person, but I do think that when you grow up with a disability, it does add to that layer of the upbringing, you know, wanting to please, wanting to fit in, wanting to feel accepted. And I think one of the things that, you know, in terms of disability that can kind of affect it is that we get used to saying yes because we want to prove that we are capable of doing things. So you don't want to say, oh, no, I don't know if I can do that, or, you know, sort of make people doubt you any more than you think they already might. So we get used to just going, yeah, of course. Because if I say yes, then people, it might kind of break down those stereotypes or that misconception that because you have a disability, you're not able to do something. So actually we go to the other end of the scale.
Yeah, and you don't want to be difficult. You want to be agreeable. Really quickly, Fern, summing up for us, what do we need to remember when it comes to saying no?
Saying no is healthy. There is nothing wrong with saying no. Think about those values of yours. Let those be your North Star. And that self-compassion piece, the self-trust that you will build with yourself when you are honest and you empower yourself to say no, is unmatchable. It will really do you some favors. So practice. Just you know, every 5 minutes or so, just practice saying no and see how you feel.
Listen to that 1960s song by the Zombies where I think they say no 111 times or something like that in 2 minutes.
Whoa,
anyway,
boy.
Within their song. So they've got it down pat. Thanks, Fern.
Thank you. Have a good show.
Thanks for watching.
You can catch Kelly and Ramya weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern on AMI.